video, I'm going to go over all of the bulking Q&A that I have gathered from the internet. My intention for after this video is you'll have full clarity as to whether or not you should bulk, how would you go about bulking, and just all your common questions that come with it. As proof, I feel like I'm literally the master of bulking because I have gone through about 5 or 6 cycles since 2019. I actually used to be 99 pounds, and while I looked healthy from the outside, I felt far from it. So my goal was that I needed to add on weight so I can just maintain like normal, healthy body function. But now I'm like in a steady state where I don't feel like I need to worry about that. Still every now and then I get that temptation of whether or not I should bulk. But right now I am happily in maintenance. And I feel like this winter I may not even bulk. But yes, that is my credentials. I've gone through so many cycles, so I know all about it, especially when it comes to like nutrition, how to go about it, the body image that comes with it. I got you. So first question that I feel like we should just address is, how do you know if you should bulk? It comes down to this. If you are somebody who is new at the gym, or you took a long break and you're just kind of going back into things, I would not recommend you go into a bulk because I think your focus should just be establishing sustainable habits, getting back into the gym groove, and just getting consistent with that and making sure that your nutrition is also in check. I also wouldn't recommend bulking if you rely too heavy on the scale, because the reality is that that scale will shoot up. And if you're already not in a good place with your body, then you're not going to want to put yourself in that situation. Is it avoidable? Of course. And that's where I think a coach or having a personal trainer who is really invested in your background, that way they can just help give some guidance. But overall, those are the only situations I would recommend that you don't go into a bulk. I think a lot of people underestimate how much muscle they could actually put on if they're just in maintenance, especially if you are somebody who has been dieting a lot, like you haven't even been eating enough to maintain normal, healthy body functions. I think you don't even need to go into a bulk, just chill in maintenance. And I'm not going to say that it's rare that you'll plateau in maintenance to build muscle, because if you're somebody who has been dieting for a while, you'll probably find that just by eating in maintenance, especially if you're eating in a 200 calorie range, you'll probably build muscle. So for example, my maintenance is 2200. So I could eat between 2200 to 2400 and kind of fluctuate throughout the week, and I could still build muscle. Okay, but if you are somebody who is ready to go on a bulk, you are ready to build some muscle in this winter. So how do you know how much calories you should be eating for your bulk? Well, there are 2 ways you could go about this. One would take longer than the other, but it's a lot more accurate. You can go on any TDEE calculator. You would input all your information just as normal. And when it comes to the activity level, think of it in the sense of how many steps do you get a day, not necessarily how many days you work out. So if you're somebody who gets 8 to 10,000 steps 3 times a week, then I would put lightly active. If you're somebody who gets in 8 to 10,000 steps 5 days out of the week, then you are probably considered a little bit more on the active side. So that's number one when determining your activity level. Next, obviously, it's going to give you a whole bunch of like macros and like different numbers, but obviously you just want to look for your maintenance calories. Now you're going to see the 2 options. There's the cutting and there's the bulking. Automatically TDEE will take off 500 right away for both the deficit and bulking. Just like if you've seen in my previous videos, I don't recommend you go straight into a 500 deficit or a 500 surplus, because if you go straight into a 500 surplus, you're going to be sick of food. You're not going to want to look at protein after like a week or 2. I think the best way to go about it is just start at a 200 surplus. Meaning like for example, if my maintenance is 2200, I'm probably just going to do 2400 and just stay there. And if I feel like my body image is okay, I'm not gaining too much fat around my stomach, like I feel confident within 2 to 4 weeks, then I could even bump it up to a 300 surplus. But I have not done a 500 surplus since I was 99 pounds, because back then I actually needed to gain weight. Now that I am not so much needing to gain weight in that sense, I would just stick with a 200 to 300 surplus. Another common question is, how do I avoid gaining weight while bulking? The truth is, like, you can't control that. The definition of eating in a surplus is eating more calories than you burn in the day. So by default, by math, by theoretics, by all the good science stuff, you're probably gonna gain weight. And we have no control over where the fat goes. So genetically for me, my fat always goes to my stomach. And then the second place would be my back. But for the most part, it is always my stomach. But everywhere else on my body, I'm generally okay. But that's not something I can control. And one of the biggest mistakes I see when someone starts a surplus is that they give up within a month because they can't stand the scale shooting up. They can't stand when their clothes start to fit different because now they're gaining weight. It's an entirely different mindset process that you have to have. But if you're somebody who's like really, really active, then I would imagine that it's going to be harder to gain fat. And now when I say like really active, I'm talking like athlete level. Like in the morning you are working out, evening you are doing some form of cardio to practice for the sport that you're playing. Those are the only things I can think of where you may not gain as much fat. But then I also know that athletes like that, because their activity level is so high, they need to eat a lot of calories if their goal was to build muscle. The next common question is, how much protein should you eat? And because now that you're able to eat more food, I could recommend, instead of just eating 1 gram of your body weight in protein, you can amp it up to 1.2 grams. Me personally, I just stick with 1 gram of body weight. One, because since I have more calories to play with, I know for sure I'm going to hit that protein goal. And also with bulking, because you have to force yourself to eat more food, even though you don't feel necessarily hungry, the last thing you want to do is force yourself to eat more protein. And then in a week or two, it's not sustainable because you cannot stand the taste of chicken, beef, whatever protein source that you're eating. And next thing you know, you give up and you're just like, I don't want to eat protein. I don't want to bulk anymore. So just stick with 1 gram of your body weight, and that should honestly be more than enough. Next question is, how long should a bulking phase last? Now, I think it's really common that people just want to do 3 months, but if you really want to make the most of it, you should aim for 6 to 12 months. You have to realize that building muscle takes a lot of time and patience. So yeah, you might see a little bit of results in the 3 months, but there's also the learning curve of practicing lifting to failure, making sure that you're pushing yourself in your sets. These are skills that do take time to learn, but it's not impossible. But you may as well use this bulking time to practice that. And a lot of times, by the time you do figure out how to do that, your 3-month bulk is over and you might feel disappointed in the fact that you did this bulk and all you gained was some body fat, but no muscle. So I personally think 6 months to 12 months. The next question is a lean bulk versus a dirty bulk. I personally don't like saying these terms because at the end of the day, they are both bulks. They are both eating in a surplus. However, the fitness community likes to use these words interchangeably. When it comes to a lean bulk, the only good thing I can see with lean bulking is that you probably won't be bloated because you're eating clean foods. And I hate using that term because clean foods doesn't necessarily mean healthy. And in my opinion, it could actually get too restricted to the point where you don't want to eat food anymore. But essentially a clean bulk would just be making sure that you're eating grilled meats, steamed vegetables, rice, potatoes, not going too heavy on sauces and oils. So this is a good idea if you don't want to feel bloated because you are going to be eating more food than normal. And as long as you're eating enough fiber and all that good stuff, like you should be fine. My problem though with the clean bulk is that it's going to be too restrictive. And one of the best things about bulking is you have more room in your calories to eat the junk foods. Normally, when I eat in maintenance, I have just enough calories to eat my 3 main meals, a snack, and a dessert. But I feel like when I'm bulking, like there's so much more room to have 2 desserts. You could have 3 snacks and a dessert. Like it's so much easier to play with your calories in that way. So would you still gain weight in a clean bulk? Yes, you 100% will because you are still eating in a surplus. Now, a dirty bulk. This just means that you're eating processed, high-calorie foods that don't necessarily make you feel good, but it doesn't matter because it's still just a matter of getting those calories in. When I think of a dirty bulk, I just think of days where if I get sick of eating too much protein, too much of the clean foods, then I will go towards the dirty bulk, I guess, for that day, just so I can enjoy all my favorite fried foods. Or because it's winter and it's cold, so I generally crave a lot of warm comfort food. So this could be like the full fat mac and cheese, biscuits, gravy, like the full butter and mashed potatoes. Like I want to fully enjoy that bulking experience. So either way, whichever one you choose, you're still going to gain weight. So just choose wisely of the foods that are going to make you feel good, perform well, make you have good energy levels, and just not make you feel like utter crap when you're working out. Which brings me to the next question of what food should you eat? And in my opinion, just to make this so simple, just eat what you already eat, but increase the portion sizing. So for example, if you are already eating, I don't know, like rice and salmon and vegetables, you can increase the serving size of rice. You could add butter into the rice. Instead of eating a lean type of salmon, you can do the full fat salmon. Like I feel like there's so much more wiggle room now in your calories that you really don't need to overthink it. Same thing if you're eating like noodles, like instead of just eating one packet, eat two. Same thing goes for pasta. Instead of having 1 to 2 serving sizes, have 3 now. Add in more sauce because you have the calories for it. Like I don't think bulking has to be that complicated. Okay, I have all my questions in my phone, so I'm just trying to remember which ones did I already answer, which ones I didn't. Okay, can I do cardio while bulking? Here's the only thing with that. You could if it's something that you already enjoy. When you add that into your TDEE calculator, it's under the assumption that you've included that. So if you're just someone who genuinely loves to run 2 or 3 miles twice a week because you're a psychopath, then I would have added that into account when I did my TDEE. Because then at that point, I'm not putting that I'm lightly active, I'm putting that I'm like moderately active. So then that changes how many calories you should be eating to support your energy levels, to be able to lift, to keep your body at like good functioning levels, to be able to run, you know, twice a week. It's already included in that. So only do cardio if you love it. Don't do it so you think that you're going to prevent any body fat, because at the end of the day, it's still going to happen. And then you're going to find that because you've increased your activity level, so has your calories. So now you're probably eating at a maintenance and no longer a surplus anymore. The next question is what kind of workouts to focus on? And honestly, it doesn't matter. As long as you're taking all your workouts to near failure, you are pushing with intensity. And it's honestly a lot easier to do that because you have the energy versus when you were in a cut or maybe even a maintenance. If you didn't eat enough calories or you're not eating enough calories, you get tired in between your sets, or maybe the recovery takes too long. But in bulking, it's great because recovery is so much shorter. You have more energy to lift. You have more confidence to try and test your limits. Like your workouts don't necessarily change. It's just how you approach your workouts. Are you still lifting, like I said, with the right intensity? Are you lifting to close to failure? Are your last 2 reps so difficult to complete that it is really slow and you're just making these ugly faces? Like it needs to look like that. Will bulking make your clothes fit differently? Yes, it will. But that is also why in the gym world, the fitness community, that you want to be bulking in the winter because you're already wearing baggy clothes. You're probably working out in sweats because it's cold outside. As you can see, I'm in baggy clothes. That gives like the confidence to hide your body so you're not too worried about how much fat is showing. So yes, your clothes may fit differently. What I like to do is I have 2 sets of like gym clothes. I have a couple of like sports bras and leggings that are 1 size bigger than my usual size if I'm in maintenance or a deficit. Because if you wear the clothes that used to fit you when you were 5 pounds lighter, it's going to make you feel worse about your body. It's going to show more like rolls and stuff. And at the end of the day, it will mess with your mind, but just remind yourself that this is like a very temporary process. You're not going to be bulking forever. It's just to build some muscle. Which brings me to the next question of how can you tell if you're actually building muscle versus gaining fat? And the thing is that you really can't. You still will see like a difference in your strength. And the truth is that it's kind of difficult to determine that because appearance wise, it may look like you're just gaining and gaining weight. But if you're getting stronger in your lifts, if you find that your recovery is a little bit better, if you're able to take certain weights close to failure, like weights that you couldn't do weeks ago, chances are is that you are building muscle. You just won't be able to tell until you cut back on those calories again. But obviously the first sign is just seeing your progress in the gym. Next question is, will I need to take any supplements to help build muscle? And the answer, short, it's yes and no. There's nothing that you have to add on to your routine to build muscle. Supplements are only meant to enhance. So if you've been taking creatine, then continue taking it. If you've never taken it before, you could try it. Like, there's no harm, but it's not this magical supplement that's just going to put on muscle. The way that creatine works is that it will help you in the long run because it'll help with recovery. It'll help with ATP production, aka energy. So then it can help you in the gym perform a little bit better, harder, and stronger. But do you necessarily need it? Not really. And by the way, if you are on the search for some supplements, I work with Legion, one of the best supplement companies out there. The ingredients are clean, everything is tested, and on their website, if you don't know what one of the ingredients is, there's literally research articles, so that way you can educate yourself. And the customer service is amazing. If for whatever reason you don't like whatever it is that you had, 100% money back guarantee, no questions. And if you do decide to buy, I'll leave my link in the description. You can use my discount code Miriam so it can save you some money. And if you already have an account with them, then you will rack up on reward points. The next question is, how do I track my progress effectively? So like I said, because you don't want to use body measurements, because you don't want to rely on the scale, we're going to avoid that type of progress and we're going to do something just tracking your progress in the gym. Now, like for me, what I use is an app that my clients use and I also use, and you basically track your weights and the reps that you did. And then you can even put a note in it saying that I did 3 sets with 25 pounds and it was just too easy by the last 2 sets. So then you know, by the last 2 reps, I mean, not sets, then you know that in the next session that you can challenge yourself with heavier weights. So to track it effectively, you want to have all your workouts written, whether it's in a notes app, in the app that you work with a coach, and you want to just make sure that you're tracking the weights that you use for that certain exercise. You can even put a note there saying that maybe that day you just weren't feeling great, you didn't have any good sleep, or you're on your period, so therefore like you just didn't feel that full energy. Make that note. So then that way, then the next week when you go back into it, you'll be able to like look back, remember exactly which weights you used, and then you can be like, I'm not feeling that one today. So then you can look back to it and then you can use that weight, kind of try it as a warm up. And if it is just way too hard, then you know it's too heavy to complete all 3 sets. But if after like the first 2 sets, like it wasn't that difficult, the last 2 reps were not challenging, then you know you need to amp up the weights. Now, the biggest one, which is just the mindset part of it, the body image, the best advice I can give are a couple things. Because we are not looking at the scale, because we are not looking at our bodies right now, the best way to just go about it is just look at how strong your body is getting. Maybe before you went on this bulk, you could only do 2 assisted dips, like the tricep dips. And then after like 4 weeks into your bulk, you find that you can do like 8 reps now because now you have more energy. The muscles got more ATP going through it. Like, you can look at your overall strength gains to determine like how proud you should feel of yourself, because it is a big deal. The whole point is to get stronger. The whole point is to get leaner in the long run. So why focus on all these other things when you could just focus on how you're progressing and how much stronger you're getting in the gym? And picking back off of that is just think of the bigger picture in mind. Like, you're doing this to build muscle and you probably found that being in a deficit or maintenance just was not getting you there. This is like the fast track to getting more muscle. I would also just say celebrate the small wins. What I like to do is, if you've seen on my pages, I like to record my lifts. If I see that a weight that I was using, you know, like a year ago is no longer challenging as it used to be, I gotta feel proud of myself for that, because if the gym is like a lifestyle thing, it's not just a temporary phase if you are watching this, I'm going to assume. So it's just watching yourself grow in the sense of like celebrating your progress. And then of course there is just practicing self-compassion, because let's be real, you're not going to wake up loving your body every day. Maybe you're not going to be used to seeing yourself so bloated. Like, it will mess with your mind and you will want to stop, but just remember why you're doing this. As soon as you start to feel like you're criticizing yourself in front of the mirror, Just stop, look away, go on a walk, go call a friend, go call your mama, like whatever it is you got to do to distract your mind from the mirror. Just go do that. And I know I said this like so many times, but you just got to remember your why. People don't go into a bulk unless they're trying to build muscle. And there's only a certain amount of population who are willing to do that. People who have no interest to go to the gym, who have no interest to build muscle, they're not going to go into a bulk. So you got to know, why is this one so important to you? Why do you want to build muscle? To give you like perspective for me, is I was tired of being looked at as a petite, small little girl. I hated looking that I was weak. But more importantly, I want to be able to push off an average sized male off of me if God forbid that were to happen. Like if I'm walking in the street and some guy tries to come from behind me, I want to have more strength in him to break off and maybe punch him in the face. But me being 99 pounds, I had no strength to do that. I was so weak. And now I'm at a point where I feel strong enough to push off the average size male. Like that is my why, to keep getting stronger at the gym, to keep improving my bone density. Like these are things that I know are going to help me win. You know, whenever the time comes to have kids, I'm going to be strong enough to be able to push a human out of me. I'm going to be strong enough to recover well for after that process is done. I want to have the strength and energy to play with my kids in the future. Like these are all the bigger pictures, stronger whys for me. And it could apply to you too if maybe you come from a family that doesn't have good health. Maybe diabetes runs really strong. Maybe cancer does. And sometimes the only fix to that is just changing your lifestyle, going to the gym, lifting whatever it is. That is the why that you got to hold on to. So hopefully that answers some of your questions regarding bulking, and hopefully you have clarity now as to whether or not bulking would be a good choice for you. If you did find this video helpful, I would so appreciate it if you shared with somebody who could also use this insight, this knowledge. Share it with whoever could need it. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like, and I will see you in the next video.